Welcome to the Chompman tutorial series. Based on the beloved classic arcade game Pac-Man, this project was created to be an easy-to-follow step-by-step guide that would give you the tools, techniques, and experience of creating a full game from start to finish. We've made all the original assets that we created for the game completely free. Links in the description below. For this project, if you wish to follow along step by step, you will need to first download the Chompman project files, both of which can be downloaded in the downloads area of the tutorial site or from links in the description. Chompman game design. Before we move on to creating our gameplay, it's important to understand the gameplay mechanics from the game we're basing many of the Chompman elements after, Pac-Man. With any game, by first understanding the game or mechanics you're referencing, it will offer a better understanding on why the game is fun or successful. It will also allow you to expand upon these elements, keeping the things that work and removing or improving upon the aspects of the game that don't or aren't as fun. Pac-Man's base game design. In Pac-Man, you explore a maze while avoiding ghosts and eating dots, power-ups, and bonus fruit pickups that occasionally appear in the center of the maze. Though Pac-Man's gameplay may appear pretty simple, it's a game that actually has a surprising amount of depth to it. For example, despite the fact Pac-Man moves faster than the ghost, oftentimes during gameplay, Pac-Man will move slower than the ghost. The reason for this is every time he eats a dot, he slows down. So without dots, Pac-Man can essentially move faster than the ghost. This seemingly innocuous small gameplay element has a huge impact on gameplay and the player's experience, since the player must eat all the pellets to continue to the next level. However, doing so will make getting caught by the ghost far more likely. That being said, eating more pellets creates more open space that will allow you to move faster and make it easier for you to escape the ghost when retraversing an area. Enemy ghost AI and behavior. All four ghosts act in similar but distinct ways. The red ghost is the most aggressive and targets Pac-Man directly. The pink ghost tries to get in front of Pac-Man. The light blue ghost tries to get in the space between the red and pink ghost. The orange ghost will follow Pac-Man to get close, then move away. This distinct behavior difference allows it to appear as though the ghosts are working together. The ghost and Pac-Man also shift between three different modes or states. A state in this instance refers to when the AI shifts between different modes of behavior. The three states are chase mode, where they hunt Pac-Man down, scatter mode, where they head to the corners of the maze, which allows the player to rest and break up the tension for brief moments during gameplay, and frighten mode, where they run away to avoid getting eaten after Pac-Man gets the power-up. Basic point system. In Pac-Man, each dot is worth 10 points, and each power pellet is worth 50 points. When Pac-Man eats a power pellet, the ghosts are vulnerable, and by eating the ghost, Pac-Man is able to get points, with the points increasing twice as much for any subsequent ghost eaten. The first ghost is worth 200 points. The second is worth 400, the third 800, and the fourth 1600. Additionally, if all four ghosts are eaten for each power pellet, the player will get an additional 12,000 points at the end of the level. Another way a player can increase their score is by eating the bonus fruit. Bonus fruit appears twice per level directly below the ghost holding pen. The first bonus fruit appears after 1/4 of the dots are eaten, and the second appears after over half of the dots are eaten. Each fruit is worth 100 to 5,000 points, depending on which level the player is currently on. Points and power-ups. In addition to allowing Pac-Man to defend himself, the power-ups also allow him to gain more points and raise the player's score. Much like the bonus fruit, the power pellets are a strategic gameplay element. Since there are only 4 each map, the power pellets as well as the bonus fruit present a risk-reward element. If the player consumes the power pellets too soon, there will be none available later on in the match. Additionally, eating the ghost allows the player to get more points and achieve a higher gamer score. And since the power-ups are only for a limited time, the player has the choice on whether they will try to eat as many ghosts as they can to get the maximum amount of points, or if they will simply use their temporary invulnerability as a way to simply continue to get pellets in an attempt to finish the level as soon as possible. Levels and difficulty. Another thing we want to explore and keep in mind as we're designing is the elevating difficulty spike in gameplay. These spikes not only occur when simply completing a stage and going to a new one, but they also occur during gameplay itself, allowing the challenge to rise throughout the stage. This and the Ghost AI stops the game from ever feeling repetitive and always offers the player a new and unique experience. A prime example of how the game's difficulty rises throughout the level is each ghost randomly increases its speed after the player eats a certain number of dots. The red ghost can also move faster than Pac-Man when only 20 dots are left. Additionally, when there are only 20 dots left, certain ghosts will no longer enter scatter mode and just continuously chase the player. The other ghost's scatter state time is continuously being reduced until they get to the point they too will no longer enter scatter mode. As Pac-Man continues to progress through the game, each level becomes more demanding than the one before it. The power pellets effects become shorter and shorter, the ghosts leave the starting point faster, the ghosts become more aggressive, and Pac-Man moves faster, making him harder to control. The value of systemic design. Unlike minigames, instead of introducing new elements, environmental hazards, power-ups, or even enemy types, Pac-Man offers gameplay variety and becomes more difficult simply by changing a few values of its systemic variables. This way of design allows you to create variety for the player without having to create or implement a range of different features and/or enemy types. This is why, despite the fact that several levels of Pac-Man are exactly the same, each feels different and unique to the player. Expanding upon the gameplay and mechanics. Pac-Man Championship Edition, or Pac-Man CE and Pac-Man 256, are great examples of taking the Pac-Man formula and expanding upon it. Pac-Man 256 puts players in control of Pac-Man as he continues across an endless maze, collecting dots and power-ups while avoiding enemy ghosts. The game ends if Pac-Man comes into contact with a ghost or falls behind and is consumed by a chasing glitch at the bottom of the maze. Eating 256 dots in a row awards the player a blast that clears all on-screen enemies. Along with power pellets, which enable Pac-Man to eat ghosts, Pac-Man can equip and obtain various power-ups such as lasers, tornadoes, and clones to attack the ghosts, as well as collect score-multiplying fruit. Additional power-ups are unlocked by collecting enough dots. In Pac-Man CE, each maze is divided into two halves. Eating all the dots on one half causes a bonus item to appear on the other side, and eating the item causes a new maze to appear on the other half. Players can also collect additional power pellets to increase their powered up time and continue earning maximum points for eating ghosts. The longer the player stays alive, the faster the game gets and the more points can be earned. As opposed to levels, the game is played within a certain time limit, with players attempting to get the highest score possible. These are only two of many examples of taking the base Pac-Man gameplay mechanics, elements, or formula and expanding upon it. Our hope is by the end of this series, you too can take all that you've learned and build your own unique experience. But whatever you do, always remember, don't just play, create. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to be the first to see this and many other tutorials, game development tips, interviews, and free game asset giveaways.